Well, hello, everyone. My name is Bob DeMeo, and I'm just very pleased and honored to have an opportunity to interview the coach in just a moment. I've been asked to give a little bit on my background and Chicago based and Chicago born and raised, and CEO of a registered investment advisor with about 200 billion under advisement, multiple offices around the country. And candidly, just really feel honored. I came to know Coach largely through Leader Impact Loop Group, which for the last dozen or so years has been hosted in my office. But it's kind of funny. I came about in terms of knowing the Loop Group and really deepening my walk in this manner. This goes back to January of 2008 and have pretty much always believed in God and prayed to God, but did not read the Bible and didn't really get into the Word. And for some reason, back in January of 2008, I had as a New Year's resolution to read the Bible. And candidly, I had no idea how to do that. So we had a King James version. And my plan was after dinner and kind of like spending some time with the kids and whatnot, I'd go upstairs and then I'd start to read. And honestly, I was falling asleep typically before I got through the first page. And then I ended up, this is God's work, right? But I ended up probably the third week of January failing in this New Year's resolution. I ended up meeting the legendary Ace Mokery, and Ace, this was at a golf and fitness club, and Ace asked me, what do I do? And I mentioned, investment advisors and so on. And I asked what he does. And he told me he helps people take the next step spiritually. And that led to so many good things over the past dozen plus years, including now having the group led by Jim Johannick here in Chicago, getting to know Dave and really just deepening my relationship with Christ. It's just been special in a lot of ways. So with that, I will simply say I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to have the honor of interviewing Coach Dave Wannstedt. So Dave, as you're probably aware, is very accomplished on many, many fronts. Dave was an accomplished collegiate football player. He then went on to be on the coaching staff for not one, but two national championships. Dave then went to the pro level, and he and Jimmy Johnson with the Dallas Cowboys won a Super Bowl, and then went on to be a head coach at both the collegiate and the professional level. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So Dave, it's just great to be with you. How are things?
Great, Bob. I'm glad you didn't name all the places that I did coach, because any of our viewers or listeners would have said this guy cannot hold a job. I mean, it seems that way. I got helmets up of every place I coach, and I try to avoid that room in my house because it's scary.
It probably, yeah, it brings back some.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great, and hey, without coaching, I would have never journeyed into my commitment and my faith. So that's obviously the most important thing, and it all came from coaching and being part of athletics. So it's an honor to be here and be part of this.
Well, it's great. And folks, I kiddingly say you almost can't turn on the TV during football season and come across Fox Sports or the Big Ten Network or whatnot and see Dave. So you've stayed in the limelight, and I think it's probably been helpful to you in terms of just continuing in your walk and continuing to help folks. And I know a long time ago when I heard you speak, you probably don't even remember it, but had you talk, and it's sort of these real world experiences that intertwine faith and the real world that at least for me have always resonated strongly. And frankly, Dave, I think that's probably why our Loop Group is so strong, where folks are in there. We've got a great leader like Jim, who's full-time ministry, but really it's accountants, attorneys, bankers,
Yep.
coaches like yourself, and really having the opportunity to blend faith and their careers.
Yeah, I would just say, and I've over being a Christian now, 35 years or 30 years, I would say that it's the benefit. One of the benefits of this any group that someone can get involved with is the issues that you're dealing with, whatever though they might be, personal, financial, whatever. There's half the guys in the room. Everybody's got something that they're dealing with. But and you're talking about issues, and you're getting different opinions and relationships. I mean, there's with no agenda, and I think that's the thing. There's no ulterior motive, except that people were trying, as you mentioned, Bob, grow in their faith, and they're good, honest people. That it's encouraging. I think people walk out of there and get encouraged for several different reasons.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's funny, our group tends to meet not tends to, we do meet at 7:30 a.m. And I'm actually out of the city now, and so for me it's 6:30 a.m. These days. And just yesterday we met, and you know, you can be a little tired, and but I'm telling you, we go through the lessons, and I without exception, walk away and have something that I can use either on the professional or personal side. And
Yep.
so it's just been wonderful for me. So let me ask you, Dave, with all the achievements, and I've missed a ton of them here, and all the accomplishments and life experiences that you have, as you reflect back, what stands out as maybe life-changing moments to you?
Well, professionally, it had to be, you know, winning a Super Bowl, and it was kind of funny because uh, winning that Super Bowl. I mean, we played great, but I had accepted the Bears job the week before that, and in fact, they put a rule in after I did that that now you cannot be. So I was the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and I was an assistant head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and the only problem with that was I remember. So I fly up to Chicago, I have the press conference, we agree I'm going to be the coach, and then I fly back, and now I'm spending that whole week of preparing to play the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. And I started thinking to myself as we got close to game time, I said, geez, I didn't sign any contract. I told all these other teams no. What about if we go out there and we play, and they in Buffalo, and Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas, and they score like 40 points on us and we get beat? Maybe the Bears won't want me, you know? So, I mean, that thought actually went through my mind. And I said, wait a minute, Lord, you put me in this position. I accepted it. They're good people. And as a result, we won the game. Actually, set a turnover record. I think we had 9 turnovers in the game. So it was. So I went down, and we had the Super Bowl party. So I go with the Cowboy people, and then the owners have their party. So I kind of left and went out the back door and moved on over, and finished the night over there with the Chicago Bear people. So it was an interesting experience, and it was a great experience for me to jumpstart my head coaching career by getting a win in the Super Bowl.
That's great. And to hear you talk about how even at that you sort of leaned in, and you recognized a risk, right? And then you said, "Hey, let me put it in the Lord's hands here."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that was the decision because I was very fortunate. We had, I had several opportunities to go to different places and coach, and you're trying to weigh it out. I mean, they're all good jobs, and you're getting ready for the Super Bowl, and so I just said, Lord, just kind of give me a clue, and I was going to decide. This is people are going to say this is strange, but I knew I had the offer from the Giants already. They had mailed the contract home to me, so I had that in my hand. And the Bears were going to decide like the Monday after the Super Bowl, and the Giants wanted to know then, and then the New England Patriots, I think it was at the time, or Denver, they wanted to know by like 10 o'clock the next day. So I had all these time slots, and the key though is the Giants. I was going to go to the Giants. They sent me the contract. I had it in my hand. Uh, they were going to call me at like 8:30 in the morning, the day after we won the NFC Championship game. So I'm in there praying. I got my door closed in my office in Dallas. I'm saying, Lord, I said, okay, here it comes. I said, if no one calls at 8:30, I'm going to go to the Giants, and that'll be the message that you give me. And this is, people are going to think I'm. Don't you know about 5 after 8, which would have been 5 after 7, or no, they were on the same time zone. The phone rings, and I pick it up, and it was Mike McCaskey sitting there with his mother, Virginia, and they offered me the Bear, or said, "Hey, we want you to be the coach of the Bears." I said, "I'll be there. I'm good." So I mean, that's kind of how it all happened, and as far as trusting to get to that point, then I flew up and accepted the job. But when there was some indecision, I trusted him and just sat back and waited, and prayed.
That's insightful. So, Dave, you mentioned earlier, like in the Loop group, everybody's going through some sort of struggle or what have you, and I think you're basically describing humanity, right? Like, so
Right.
what came to my mind is everybody is struggling with something, or everyone will struggle with something, and what you just described, pardon me, you were red hot, right? I mean, like when you're talking, I've got New York, I've got Chicago. I mean, that is top level interest. So I remember you telling a story, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's a story that helped me understand just how temporary things in this world are. And this is when, obviously, you'll recall it much better than I do, but I think Jim Cramer was quarterback and the Bears are rolling, and you had big shoes to fill behind Mike Ditka and so on. And and in a very small thing happened and changed the whole trajectory. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, we opened up. It was my third year, and we opened up the season in Soldier Field against the Dallas Cowboys, who had won the Super Bowl the year before. It was Troy Aikman and Emmett Smith and Michael Irvin, and Deion Sanders was on that team. And we beat the Cowboys on Monday Night Football to open up the NFL season. And I mean, this was going to be our year. We were going to break, and we had gone to the playoffs, won 9 games, but this was going to be a breakout year. And the next week, Eric Kramer breaks his neck, our starting quarterback, and he was out for the year. And we had to go with the backup, and we went 7-9 that year. And Eric never came back and played that year, obviously. And uh, you look back on it and you say why and how. I mean, when I was with the Miami Dolphins, we won 10 games a year. And in my last year, we go 10-6, and we had some players coming back. And like I said, we went 11, 9, and 10. And we were picked to win the division and everything, and us in New England. And a week before training camp, Ricky Williams, who was my star player, he was like 60% of what we did on offense. He called me up, and he was in Hawaii and he was on his way to India. And he said he had enough football. And that was the end of that. And so now we go into training camp with no Ricky Williams, and we're trying to sign players, and we got off to a terrible start, and the season just spiraled. So, on a comical note, I'll tell you another little story. When I first became a Christian back in Miami, boy, things were good, right? I mean, and everything was clicking, and I said, "Oh man, Lord, this is nice. We're winning games. We're getting championships. I'm getting job offers." I said, "This is too good to be true." I said, "There'll be no disappointments." And so Stanford calls up and wants me to come out and interview for the head coaching job. So I said, "Sure." So I go out. Six. It was down to 6. Then they cut it to 3, and we're getting ready to play Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. And I'm leaving the hotel room to go down to the buses to go to the Orange Bowl. And my wife says, "Hey," the phone rings, and she grabs it. It's the athletic director from Stanford. I said, "Perfect." So I said, "I can't talk tomorrow. Tell him, call me tomorrow." So she says, "He's gone. He just walked out. He has to get on buses." And he says, "Okay, I'll call him tomorrow." So we beat Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. At the Orange Bowl after party, I'm going around and I'm telling all these young coaches, "You want to come with me? You can coach the quarterbacks. You want to come? You can coach the offensive line." I just got the Stanford job. What person would call you the night before the Orange Bowl and tell you you didn't have the job? He called me to pump me up. Next morning, phone rings. CAD says, "Geez, coach, I hate to disappoint you, but I offered the job to Denny Green yesterday, and he took it." And I said, "Oh, thanks." So now I'm trying to keep Jimmy Johnson, who was the head coach, from finding out that I offered half the guys on his staff jobs. So I'm calling them up, and so that was the first. And it's a funny story, but it was a big deal to me at that time, because I thought that, okay, you got this Christian faith, man, everything is clicking, and it was a little setback. It was a little I guess an eye opener for me that that's not the way it works.
So, Dave, how have setbacks like that or any others, how have they potentially and have they redirected you towards the Lord and towards your faith?
Oh, I think the biggest thing is, I got to the point where I would say, okay, I'm working or I'm coaching for an audience of one. And the biggest issue I had now, obviously, I'm going out there and I'm coaching in front of 80,000 people in TV. And that can be a little overwhelming when they start booing and everything that goes along with it. So when I would have disappointments, I really just programmed my mind to think that, okay, I'm coaching for an audience of one, the Lord, and this is all part of it, but it's not a factor. And so when I accepted that, and then when I would have the disappointments, I would just say, and I prayed to win every game. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, I prayed, Lord, let us play good today. This would be a great win, but let your will be what it is, and I'll accept that. And I think once you get to that point, you're not giving up anything. I mean, we tried just as hard every week, every game, and I was praying to win, and we were preparing to win, and believing we were going to win till the last tick of the clock. But then, at the end, it's not his fault. It's not his fault or not her fault. Hey, okay, Lord, that's what it was. Let's move on to the next one.
Think of where you're coming from in terms of the uh, importance of physical conditioning and so on, and how much time and effort football players and other athletes put into their whole um, physical routine and just staying sharp and so on. And I find it interesting when someone goes on a diet. Let's say they want to lose 20 pounds. They're going to diet. They're going to exercise. They're going to cut out, sort of the lousy foods and so on, and they don't achieve, I want to lose 20 pounds. They don't lose the 20 pounds and say, well, that's it, I'm all set. They know what will happen, right? But yet on the spiritual side, I think it's human nature to sort of stop doing spiritual exercises, if you will. So
Yep.
talk about your routines or your spiritual exercises that sort of keep you connected.
Yeah, that's the key now. You're 100% right, Bob. That's a great point. Hey, I mean, this morning I did it. I get up. I've been keeping a journal since 1989. I have boxes of paper, yearly
Hmm.
calendars, and I write down something about my spiritual life, where I'm at, something about my personal life, wife and kids, and then something professionally. And I did it this morning. Now I do it all on my computer, and I do my 2 or 3 readings every that I have, and usually the readings will have something to do with what I'm writing in the Bible. I mean, I've read Oswald Chambers, and I'll still read him. I've got the Bible things, and they'll send you verses. I mean, there's a lot of avenues to go. Uh, but if you don't do that, if you don't feed that mind, I've always looked at it this way: good wolf, bad wolf theory. And what's behind that is we all have 2 wolves in front of us. Try to picture this. And the one that you feed is the one that's going to get stronger and live. And the only way to kill the other one and get rid of it is to starve it. And so I always think to myself, okay, what wolf am I feeding with this? And how am I going to keep the good wolf strong and keep the good wolf going? And I think it's a good illustration of what the morning quiet time and the readings and the studies and the interaction with our group, all these things go into feeding the good wolf and making him stronger.
So insightful. What would you, given all of your circumstances, both in coaching and your walk in faith, what sort of insights or advice would you give today to a young business leader or coach, or just a younger individual who's got leadership aspirations?
Yeah, I think uh, perspective. There's not enough time. Uh, what do you fill in your basket with? And I'm big into illustrations. Okay, you got your bucket, and you're going to put rocks in it, and it's eventually going to fill up. If if you're going to put the right thinking, and if you are a believer and you're a Christian, if you put too many other things in that basket, there's not going to be room for that Bible to go in there. So I would say the starting point is to really try to simplify yourself, okay? And you're want to be a young leader, you want to be successful. Well, you got to take care of business with the job. There's no question about that. Uh, and then trust me, you reap what you sow. Are you taking care of your personal life with your family or kids if you're not married yourself? Where are you spending your time? Are you involved with some good people that are giving you encouragement? And that's one thing that I really believe in. The Christian attitude is a very positive attitude, and that's what attracted me back in 1988 when I committed myself, because of our chaplain at the University of Miami was so positive. And I said, geez, don't you ever get down, or don't you ever, we had a terrible game. I mean, I'm ready to rip the players. And he says, well, no, we'll get it back next week. They're positive, they're learning, I mean, and that's the Christian perspective.
You know quite a bit, and actually, I've heard you say and others say, right, that God doesn't eliminate tough circumstances or temptations or that sort, but He
Right.
certainly guides and sharpens us through those experiences. So that's great. Well, here we are. I'm not exactly sure when folks will be viewing this and so on, but I know the pandemic will still be a part of our lives, and
Hey,
there's a lot of tragedy and a lot of heartache with the pandemic, but candidly, there have also been some silver linings, some folks saying, "Hey, I'm doing things I would have never done, or I've gone back to something I haven't done for a while." What would be a silver lining or two that you've experienced during the pandemic, Dave?
I think because of what we're doing right now, the Zoom things, that I would not be attending the group with you, Bob. I wouldn't be seeing that cheerful bearded face of yours right now. Okay. Uh, and I'm serious, because when I leave Chicago and come to Naples, that was the end of my men's group in Chicago. And so
Right, it
now
coincided with the football season.
yes, exactly right. And so
Mhm.
now I was on there yesterday morning, and able to still stay connected. And I think that's probably the silver lining for me, is that I've been able to keep connections and reach out to some people that maybe I wouldn't have been. I've been on some group things with some guys from Pitt that I haven't seen or talked to in a while, and uh, all the meetings with Fox. I go to LA every weekend. Usually it's wait till we get out there, then we get together and all that. But we've been able to Zoom during the week, and professionally, I think we've taken advantage of it, and it's helping us. So well, I got some positive things. Starting with your new look, I wouldn't be seeing that now, Bob.
That's right. No, that's true. So the pandemic beard and facial hair. So Dave, it really is an honor here, and I appreciate you as a friend, and your faith and your career success, and just the ability and the willingness to share. You've just been selfless in that way. So thank you so much. A big shout out to Jim Johannick and others in the
Yes.
leadership group. Yeah. So thank you, Dave, and very best wishes to you.
Okay. I'll see you, Bob. Be safe.